In stores everywhere.
Time for your reading glasses? Go to ℉𝕀ℎ𝕀.com. Pick from hundreds of styles and colors for under $20. And now, that's ℉𝕀ℎ𝕀.com.
Apps are used everywhere except work. Why is that? Is it because people love filling out forms? Maybe they like checking with their supervisor to see how much vacation time they have. Or sending corporate their expense reports? I'll let you in on a little secret. They don't. By empowering employees to manage their own tasks, Paycom frees you to focus on the business of business. To learn more, visit paycom.com.
Here's some info from you guys.
Strangers cough at me.
Away from me.
Someone signals my direction. All the stereotypes that we work so hard to break are just going to be reversed. And I won't let that happen.
We all have to play our part.
But donate my plasma. I didn't do that.
Please respect as much as everyone else. I'm a firefighter, not a fireman.
I'm a mask maker.
I'm a nurse.
I'm a delivery woman, chef, a neighbor artist.
Bus driver. I'm a doctor.
The confirmation hearings for Judge Amy Coney Barrett begin tomorrow. The president's Supreme Court nominee expected to face tough questioning from Democrats as they try to block her from filling the vacancy left by the late Justice ℉𝕀ℙ𝕀ℎ𝕀. We're joined by two members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, which will conduct those hearings. We'll talk with Republican Senator Ben Sasse in a few minutes, but first, Democratic Senator Chris Coons is a member of Joe Biden's inner circle. Senator Coons, your caucus just plain doesn't have the votes at this point to block Judge Barrett's nomination to the court. So what's your strategy for the hearings this week?
Well, I'm going to be laying out the ways in which Judge Barrett's views, her views on reaching back and reconsidering and overturning a long-settled precedent are not just extreme, they're disqualifying. She has taught at a well-regarded law school. She clerked for Justice Scalia, but she has views that make her not qualified to serve on the Supreme Court. President Trump has said he would only nominate someone who would overturn the Affordable Care Act, taking away health care protection for more than 100 million Americans in the middle of a pandemic. And both President Trump and members of the majority on this committee have said they would only vote for a nominee who would overturn Roe versus Wade. As I will lay out in my questioning this week, we shouldn't be having this hearing with two members of the committee infected with COVID. It's rushed, it constitutes court packing, and her views are too extreme to qualify her to serve on this board.
Well, let me just point out, there have been a number of hearings since COVID began that had virtual membership participation by some of the senators. So this is nothing new in this period of time. But I want to get back to your main point. Based on her writings and even some of her votes as a judge in the Seventh Circuit, do you have any doubt that a Justice Barrett would vote to overturn Obamacare and would vote to either overturn or restrict a woman's right to abortion?
I think she's made that very clear in recent writings. And frankly, don't just believe me, believe President Trump. He said publicly, I will only nominate someone who will overturn the Affordable Care Act. Judge Barrett directly criticized Chief Justice Roberts just 3 years ago, saying that his decision 8 years ago upholding the Affordable Care Act stretched the plausible limits of the text and criticized him for not being a proper textualist. This is hard for your average American to follow, I think. When I spoke with a constituent here in Delaware last week, someone with a pre-existing condition, she said, I thought this was settled. I thought years ago that the Supreme Court upheld the Affordable Care Act. I said, that's right. But Republicans in the Senate and President Trump keep trying to overturn it. This is their last desperate measure to jam someone onto the court to accomplish that goal by Supreme Court decision, what they couldn't accomplish by legislative action in the Congress.
All right. Senator, I want to talk to you about a different subject related to this, though. You're a member of the Biden inner circle, and the former vice president has been asked repeatedly, if you become president, will you move to pack the court? Will you move to increase the number of justices? Here was his answer this week to them.
Now,
before the election.
Well, Chris, as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee, I'll tell you, for the last 4 years, I've seen unprecedented court packing, where nominees to fill lifetime seats in the federal judiciary who the American Bar Association said were not qualified got jammed through. Instead of passing a COVID relief package that will help millions of Americans who are unemployed, who've been infected, whose businesses or employers have closed, we're focusing on jamming through Judge Barrett. I think this constitutes court packing.
But Senator,
I
you're
think that's the implication of what Joe
Senator,
Biden was saying.
No, Senator, with all due respect, you're not being straight with me because Mr. My President, we have 23 days until the election. Can Vice President Biden, can Senator Harris, as running mate, can they continue to stonewall on a perfectly legitimate question? Biden says it's legitimate. If you're elected, will you try to change one of the three branches of government by adding justices to the court? There haven't been any more than 9 justices, I think it's since the 1870s. It's a pretty important question. Can he hold out and stonewall on that issue for 3 weeks?
Well, Chris, for the coming week, what I'm holding out is hope that there are still 2 more Republicans who might join with the 2 Republicans who've already said, based on what they did 4 years ago in refusing to give a hearing or a vote to Judge Merrick Garland, they should not be doing this now. Senator Murkowski, Republican from Alaska, said fair is fair. If that's what we did during the election 4 years ago, now with the election already underway, with voting already happening in 27 states, 4 million votes being cast, we should not be racing ahead. I am concerned, and so are some members.
But that's a different issue. Let me just say, and I just got to say, that's a different issue than the question of the court. That's the question is whether or not the court should, the Senate should vote to confirm Barrett. That's different than changing the number of justices on the court. Thank you. As always, thank you for joining us. Joining me now, another member of the committee, Republican Senator Ben Sass. Senator, let's start where I left off with Senator Coons. What do you make of Joe Biden's refusal to answer the question, if elected, will you change the number of justices on the court? And do you think he can continue to hold out to that non-answer for the next 3 weeks?
Well, Chris, first of all, thanks for coming to Nebraska. Glad to have you. It's grotesque that Vice President Biden won't answer that really basic question. And it isn't just one branch of government. What they're really talking about, or refusing to talk about, is a suicide bombing of 2 branches of government. What they're talking about is blowing up the deliberative structure of the United States Senate by abolishing the filibuster, making it possible to turn the Senate into just another House of Representatives, where every 2 years, by a 51-49 or 49-51 majority, major policies are changed. They're not doing that to back the Supreme Court. This language, I apologize to you, Chris, we live right next to a Union Pacific mayor, and you're about to hear America working as a somebody. So, what did you say? I'll speak up just a little bit.
Let me get to the next question, and guys, cut Senator Sass's mic while I ask the question, and then we can hear some of the issues that a Justice Barrett would confront on the court. Back in 2006, she signed a newspaper ad that called for overturning the quote, the words that she signed, "barbaric legacy of Roe v. Wade." And then as a judge, she voted to rehear cases where other judges in the 7th Circuit struck down abortion. Senator, aren't you counting on Justice Barrett to either restrict a woman's right to abortion?
The reason I think that Amy Barrett is a rock star and should be on the court is because she's very clear about her jurisprudence. She's an originalist and she's a textualist, which means when she puts on her black robe in the morning, she knows what it is to be a judge, and that is to cloak your personal preferences. Our judges don't wear red or blue jerseys. They don't advocate for policy positions, and we shouldn't be having either Democrats or Republicans on the committee trying to figure out how can they divine the future of how they'll rule on particular cases. This is the so-called Ginsburg.
Senator, with respect, you're being a little disingenuous here. I mean, you're very staunchly pro-life. That's a perfectly legitimate position to take. But aren't you in
are two different jobs, Chris. You're right, I'm pro-life, and I stood for election before the voters in Nebraska, and I get to do that again in 23 days, and I ask them for their vote, and I tell them my policy positions. If ℊ𝕀℻𝕧 were running for the United States Senate from the state of Illinois, she would have policy positions that she lay out to the American people. That isn't what a judge's job is. The politicization of the court, and some of Chris, and I like Chris Coons, by the way, but some of his weirdly Orwellian language in that last segment, claiming that court packing is filling open vacancies. That obviously isn't what court packing means. We have seen a politicization of the court since Robert Bork in 1987, where the left wants to turn it into a super legislature to advance things that they can't get done through the electorate. That is not what textualists want. I didn't say that isn't what conservatives want. That is not what people who know what a judge's job is should want.
All right. Then there is also Obamacare, which is particularly timely because the court will hear a lawsuit that is seeking to strike down the Affordable Care Act a week after the election. I want to start with Barrett's history here. In 2017, this is what Barrett wrote this. Chief Justice Roberts pushed the Affordable Care Act beyond its plausible meaning to save the statute back in a 2012 case. I mean, look, all we can judge a justice by, is what they've said in the past. There's a reason that President Trump chose her. There's a reason that you're going to be voting for her. Aren't you, in fact, counting on Justice Barrett to overturn the Obamacare Act?
So first of all, there's Robert's opinion there, which I disagree with, is a different case than the case that's before the court now. And every time people have said they can predict how judges are going to rule in the future, they're almost always disappointed in all. And so obviously President Trump says a whole bunch of things, and so he may say something that's more outcomes-based. But for those of us who sit on the committee, or those of us who are making the judgment about how we'll vote in the United States Senate on Amy Barrett's nomination and her ultimate confirmation, is because of how she spells out what the job of a judge is. And that is not outcome-based. She is a rock star jurist. There's nobody in the Notre Dame faculty, no matter where they are on the political spectrum, who dissented from the fact that this woman is not just a great thinker, but she's a character to understand who a judge is, what their job is, and how you're humble in that calling. And that's why she was unanimously recommended by the Notre Dame faculty, including people whose politics are way to the left of mine.
Senator Sands, thanks for your time. Please come back next time. Hopefully, there won't be freight train going through during the interview. Thank you, sir. Up next, we'll bring back our Sunday group to discuss Joe Biden's refusal to answer the question, as president, would he try to pack the Supreme Court?
Pretend is the #1 party on the for people taking loading stack drugs. I recommend because it has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Qunol is the brand I trust.
Robinhood believes now is the time to do money without the commission fees, so you can start investing today, wherever you are, even maybe with your dog. So, what are you waiting for? Download now and get your first stock on us. Robinhood. Looking to refinance your mortgage? The first thing you want to do, find out how much your home is worth.
Just go to ownerly.com, enter the address, and see what you've done instantly. Come to ownerly.com and see what your home is worth for free.
It's an important time to save. With Priceline, get up to 60% off amazing hotels. And when you get a big deal, you feel like a big deal. Priceline. Every trip is a big deal.
The Joe Biden is holding big campaign rallies the 17th of March.
Roger said there's what Americans need to know tonight on Life with Neil.
Blitz is a runaway New York Times bestseller. Mike Huckabee says if everyone read Blitz, Trump would win in a landslide. Blitz exposes the secret billionaires out to stop Trump, and it reveals his surprising plan to win. Mark Levin says you must read this book. Everyone is talking about Blitz. Get it in bookstores everywhere, or check out the free offer and save $28. Just go online or call now.
Have you heard of nuts.com? It's the best kept secret of sales numbers all over the country. Incredible nuts, dried fruits, organic snacks, and gluten-free treats. There's something and strong.
Democrats and liberal extremists are attacking Amy Coney Barrett for her faith. It's shameful bigotry. Democrats know she's brilliant and principled, so their attacks on her faith will only get worse. Stand with Amy.
A conservative legal group launching a multi-million-dollar ad campaign to try to preempt attacks on Judge Amy Coney Barrett's religious beliefs. And we're back now to the panel. Susan, what do you expect from the hearing this week? We've got the situation where Judge Amy Coney Barrett would be replacing the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That would seem to ensure a few really emotionally charged days, and specifically on that ad that we just played. What about Judge Barrett's involvement with the People of Praise, a charismatic Catholic group? Do you think that just fear could be off limits because of any fear that he will be portrayed as questioning the Catholic faith?
Yes, I don't think that's going to be the thrust of the Democratic attack. I think Democrats are quite determined to focus on health care, on the effort to strike down the Affordable Care Act and the protections it provides for people with pre-existing conditions. Democrats do not believe they can defeat this nomination, but they believe they can make a point about that.
You heard the conversation with the two senators, Coons and Bass, about Joe Biden's refusal to discuss whether or not to answer the question, whether or not he will pack the court. And by that we specifically mean add so that there'll no longer be 9 justices, there'll be 12 or even 15. Your thoughts about his continued refusal to answer that question?
I don't think it's a tenable position, Chris, and now it's getting, and his answer is getting more wild. He said, for example, yesterday that the Republic did not deserve to know. This is a very odd thing for somebody to say about the voters. He also said that the way that the Republican nomination was unconstitutional, which is utter nonsense. And of course, he's got the court packing line. You saw Chris Coons trying out. That's not what adding justice. Appointing justices to vacancies in courts is not court packing. It never has been. It's been president dates from the 1930s when Franklin Roosevelt tried to expand the Supreme Court and it backfired. It has been known as court packing ever since. So what President Trump needs right now is more Joe Biden on that issue, because as long as he refuses, it's going to hurt him.
Peter, let me pick up on that. President Trump, and he brought it up in the debate I moderated, the first debate, he clearly seems to think that this court-packing issue, and maybe more than the issue, Biden's refusal to answer the question, is a good issue for them. How vulnerable do they think Biden is on that? And your point of view, do you think it's good politics for Biden to try to just buck this, not just to give an answer, regardless of whether it picks up some voters either in the center if he says, yeah, I'm going to pack the court, or on the left if he says, no, I'm not going to pack the court?
He did answer the question during the primaries, in which he said he didn't favor court packing. That was, of course, before this current situation with Judge Barrett being confirmed just days before the election. There's a lot of agitation among Democrats, anger over this happening, saying, well, if they're going to stretch the norms and boundaries of what we used to consider to be the rules, then there's no reason we can't either. It's perfectly constitutional for them to confirm Judge Barrett. Perfectly constitutional change the number of seats on the Supreme Court. It's just something that hasn't happened all that often, as you point out, hasn't changed since the 19th century. I think Biden is an institutionalist, but he doesn't want to rile Democrats who would be mad at him if he says, look, I just assume not court pack because I don't want to stretch the boundaries of our norms even further than they already have been.
Susan, if the Senate does go ahead, as Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, says he intends to, and they, at least at this point they have the votes, to confirm Judge Barrett to become Justice Barrett before Election Day, and if it's a done deal, therefore, how much of a voting issue do you think this is in these final weeks and most importantly, Election Day?
Well, I think the issue around the confirmation of the judge as a justice, and thereby submitting this conservative majority. Those are the big issues. The issue of abortion rights is a big issue for a lot of women and for progressives and for others. And the issue of healthcare, and which is infused with the issue of the coronavirus, is the strongest issue driving this election. The national poll we saw this morning, President Trump still does pretty well in the assessment of how he handles the economy. Usually that's the defining issue for an incumbent president. Not this time. 16% of the people who support the president think he's doing a good job handling the economy say they're going to vote for Joe Biden. That's the reason that this court case, this court confirmation, could have some real weight politically because of what it might lead to when it comes to health care.
Yeah, but let me ask you about that, Susan, because I directly asked Republican Senator Sass about that. Wouldn't you be disappointed? Aren't you counting on Justice Barrett to either overturn or restrict Roe v. Wade? Aren't you counting on her to overturn Obamacare? And he said, well, look, we're not worried about results. She's a judge. Is that being disingenuous on his part? I mean, in fact, aren't the Republicans, in fact, counting on exactly that?
Well, I can't speak for Senator Sass in particular, but Republicans in general, yes. I think they expect this confirmation to lead to different results than they had on those two big issues.
If the president does what the Senate about it, does go ahead and confirm Barrett as a done deal, does it lose its potency as a political issue as a campaign and voting issue in these final days where
Buddy. quality candidates for my resume so you can start hiring right away. Apply for $75 credit and post your first job at Indeed.com/promo.
If you suffer from muscle cramps in your legs and feet, 𝕊𝕬𝕟𝕕𝕒 can help. For daily application, this fast-acting foam is clinically proven to prevent muscle cramps before they start. Get 𝕊𝕬𝕟𝕕𝕒 relief today. Available in stores everywhere.
Multiple studies have shown that marijuana can slow both driving reaction and response time. It's going to be really dangerous.
Confirmation hearing, with tensions running high and the election just weeks away. Amy Coney Barrett takes her case to sit on the U.S. Supreme Court. Don't miss it. On Fox News Channel.
We started thinking this week about the push for a new Supreme Court justice in the final days of the presidential campaign. And long after Donald Trump leaves office, whether it's 2021 or 25, the work of one of his two former aides will live on. Here's our power player of the week.
Judges have life tenure. It's the closest thing we have to permanence in our constitutional system of government. And so, particularly for President Trump, is really going to be his central legacy.
Don McGahn is a key player in that legacy. As former White House counsel, he drove the process for President Trump to appoint over 200 judges to lower courts and 2 justices to the Supreme Court, all following the conservative principle of sticking to the law as written.
More predictable legal frameworks allow people to plan their affairs and not have to be second-guessed by judges who reverse course.
In 2016, then-candidate Trump released a list of potential Supreme Court nominees, put together by McGahn.
Though it was an issue that was front and center, when it came to making the list public and the politics of it, that was 100% the president.
One of the names, Judge Neil Gorsuch, who President Trump nominated for the presidency in office. In 2018, he named Brett Kavanaugh, whose confirmation hearing turned public.
I tried to yell for help. When I did, Brett put his hand over my mouth to stop me from yelling.
Is it true that you told Brett Kavanaugh you got to commit and fight for this nomination?
I thought he had to come out, show some emotion, and let people know that this is not true.
This whole 2-week effort has been a calculated and orchestrated political hit.
What about the argument that some people make that he was too high and didn't show a judicial temperament?
Well, when you're accused of the thing he was accused of, I don't think it's time to have a judicial temperament.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett.
Barrett was another name on McGahn's list. The president wanted to save her in case Ruth Bader Ginsburg left the court. Now, Democrats are hitting Barrett for past criticism of Roe v. Wade and Obamacare, saying she'll push to overturn both. McGahn pushes back.
The question is, how does she perform as a judge? And as a judge, she calls it straight. She reads the law as passed by Congress. She reads the Constitution.
What's your message today, Mr. Mueller?
McGahn was swept up in Robert Mueller's investigation of the 2016 campaign.
Wow.
He told the special counsel
I can hit markers to the
after the president ordered him to fire Mueller.
And look, Robert Mueller's not nominated for the Supreme Court. I'm not nominated for the Supreme Court. Amy Barrett's nominated for the Supreme Court. The issue of the day really is why she's a great nominee for the U.S. Supreme Court.
When McGahn isn't playing politics, he used to play in a rock band.
People find it either amusing or loud. It's something I enjoy, and I have hobbies, and one of mine is playing music.
McGahn had his differences with the president and left the White House 2 years ago. There's no question who he's voting for.
Look what the President Trump has done with judges. My vote is pretty much in the bag. He speaks to me in language that I understand when it comes to the issues I care about.
Now, this program you can watch the confirmation hearing with Judge Barrett tomorrow on Fox News Channel starting at 9 a.m. Eastern. And that's it for today. Have a great week. And we'll see you next Fox News Sunday.
Governor, the third most populous state in the nation, Florida, Ron DeSantis. Governor, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mark. How are you doing?
Doing very, very well. A lot of topics I want to cover with you, from the coronavirus to your criminal justice reform. But first I want to talk about the campaign, presidential and federal campaigns here. Florida is a key state. Everybody knows it's a key state. John McCain lost Florida. Mitt Romney lost Florida. The establishment candidates didn't seem to do so well in Florida. They lost to Obama. President Trump lost Florida against Hillary Clinton. How does it look in Florida right now?
Well, it's interesting, Mark. When Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton, there were about 350,000 more registered Democrats than Republicans in the state of Florida. Now it's less than 180,000 differential, and we think when all the books are finally in, we think it may be closer to 150,000. So whatever it is in that range, it'll be the closest Republicans have ever been to Democrats in Florida in the history of the state. And I think that that's a testament to folks looking at Florida as a place where they can find greener pastures. You see people who are fed up with high taxes in places like Illinois or the Northeast, and they come down. And I think that many of them are registering as Republicans because I think they understand that we've had stories of democracy in this country with the states doing different approaches, and approaches like Florida have been more successful. So I think the president is facing an election where they're more inclined to vote for him in 2020 than the one that was for him in 2016.
It also looks like he has significant support in the Hispanic community, among Cubans, among Venezuelans, among Puerto Ricans. The governor of Puerto Rico just endorsed the president of the United States. Is that correct?
It is correct, and I think that's going to be the biggest improvement. When you look at Miami-Dade County, he's going to probably cut the margin in half for his deficit against Hillary Clinton, and that's going to be on the back of a really unified and energized Cuban-American community, but also a lot of things he's done that have resonated with our Venezuelan Americans, and really a whole bunch of different Hispanics from Latin and Central America who have their origins there. And I also think what's helped him is the left wing, the Democratic Party, has gone on a lot of these issues. And so those are voters down in South Florida who are very sensitive about leftism because they had their lives upended, their parents' or grandparents' lives upended by left-wing dictators in places like Cuba and Venezuela and Nicaragua. And so I think the president's been very strong on those issues, and I think you're going to see that resulting in the polls. But I also think, and I know we'll talk about this a little more later, some of the stuff with the unrest that we've seen in the streets across the country, and you have people like Biden who were silent on it for months. You actually had Kamala Harris was bailing out some of the Minneapolis rioters, and they were almost cheering this on. Unacceptable to many of those voters. And I think the president has smartly been in favor of law and order, and I think that that's going to pay dividends. You know, when we had the protests were breaking out and the rioting was breaking out in